Hello, this is Jesse with the WaterFixer company, UV water filter systems for drinking water. Today we're going to look at how to change out your quartz sleeve or the O-rings that are in the end of your quartz sleeve. In the UV chamber here on our Model 500, treats 1.5 gallons a minute, in the UV chamber there is a lamp which emits the UV that treats your water, but what keeps the water away from the lamp is a clear quartz sleeve, pure glass clear sleeve. So at times you'll notice over the years you might have some water leaking from the end, or it just comes time and your UV is cloudy and it's time to change it out. You're going to want to change the quartz sleeve. So the first thing you're going to do is remove the cover caps from the end of your chamber. Take those off, slide it down. Now, every time I mess this up, before you even touch this, disconnect the power, and you're gonna wanna disconnect, or at least let off the water pressure out of this, or you will have water everywhere. So go ahead and disconnect the power of the water, take the cover caps off, you're gonna unplug your UV lamp that's inside of it. Slide your UV lamp out and put that over here. Now, the quartz sleeve is held in by O-rings that are compressed by what we call locking rings. They're on each end of the chamber here, and they're attached by 3 screws. On our newer systems, since about 2006, 2007, we have silver locking rings. They're aluminum, anodized, clear silver. On our older systems, we have black locking rings, which they look plastic, but they're actually they're painted aluminum. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start by loosening the 3 screws on each end of the chamber. Now, one thing to note here is some people will just reach for the electric or battery powered drill, and in these situations it is not a good idea. You just want to use a standard screwdriver because the impact of an electric drill can cause issues for your quartz. So when you get in there, you're going to have the 2 locking rings with 3 screws each. You're going to have a set of O-rings, 1 on each end for the silver locking ring, 2 for the black locking rings, and then your quartz sleeve. We'll hold it up here. It's important to not touch the quartz sleeve as much as possible, to not touch it, because any stains, any grease that you get on there from your fingers will keep UV from penetrating through to the water. So if you're just changing out your O-rings, then you can leave the quartz in there. If you're cleaning your quartz sleeve, which I recommend once a year, if not, at least shine a flashlight in the end when you change out your lamp to see if it's clouding up. And then go ahead and reinsert this. Now be careful with this, especially as they get older, they get more fragile. You'll want to slip it in, slowly walk it in, and then stick your finger in and feel for that quartz coming through, and it's easier to get it lined up with the hole on the end of the chamber. Now, if you have a silver locking ring set on each end, you are going to have 1 single quad O-ring for each side, and you can tell they're flat all the way around. They're a real neat thing. They do very well, and you're going to slip those on. When you do that, before you do that, this is already lubed up. Use some petroleum jelly on the O-rings. Get them nice and goopy, and then slip them back on there. That will aid in the seating of the O-ring to the chamber and the locking ring. Now, when you're using one of the, if you have the older style set of locking rings, the black locking rings, you have 2 O-rings on each side. And the way those line up is the first to go on the chamber is the round ring. It's perfectly round. Just, you can't mistake it, round ring. You're going to slide that onto the chamber. The second ring, O-ring to go on, is a flat O-ring. It's flat on one side, but it's concave on the other side. So it has a groove to it all the way around, and that is going to push up against the round O-ring that you already put on. So round O-ring first, then your flat O-ring with your concave side against the round O-ring. You're going to do that on both sides. Again, use petroleum jelly. It will help in seating the O-rings. Now, since we've got everything ready here, we'll go ahead and slide our locking rings back on. Bear with me for just a sec. And what I do is I get them started in, lined up and started in. Make sure I'll feel inside to make sure my quartz is roughly even. Then I'll run the screws down to where they just touch the locking ring. The reason that you just want to touch is you want to be able to still move that locking ring around a little bit. Now, when you get to this point where everything's touching but it's all still mobile, then you're going to feel inside to make sure, maybe even take a look, to make sure your quartz sleeve is centered. It's not one way too much or the other way too much and not going to get a good seal. The other reason is if you reach around the end, you can kind of feel whether or not that locking ring is centered on the end of that housing. Going to kind of feel it and say, okay, we're good. Then I'm going to half tighten, just get a little snug on each side, do all 3 screws. If you tighten them all the way down, sometimes it pushes the quartz sleeve out of the middle. And then once I got them half tightened and I checked again, I'm looking in to see whether or not my quartz is moved. Then I'm going to cinch them all the way down. I'm going to work my way around a few times just to make sure. Again, don't use an electric drill. Hand screwdriver does just fine. Everything looks good. The quartz sleeve looks good there. The quartz sleeve looks good there. Then I'm going to reinsert my lamp, replug my plugs, put my cover caps back on. And you know, actually, good note before that, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. Before you put the lamp and the plugs back in, pressurize the system. See if you have any more leaks coming out of there, if you had a leak before. If there's a leak, then you got to go back and see what's going on. Maybe you didn't tighten something down, maybe the quartz sleeve moved when you were doing that. But pressurize the system, make sure you have no leaks, then put your UV lamp back in, your plugs on, you're ready to go. If you have any more questions, feel free to call me at 888-699-6166 or go to our website at WaterFixerCompany.com.